Morning, everyone. This is Shahinda, and today we're going to discuss English for special purpose. I tried to include all the details in the slides so you could always go back and check what you missed. Here is our outline for today. We have a warm-up activity to break the ice between students, and then we have what's English for special purpose, which is also stands for ESP. And then we have the difference between ESP and General English. And then we have activity number 1, 2, and 3, and then the homework. To start with the warm-up, it's a find someone activity, which is a speaking one, which involves learners moving around trying to find someone who matches the description. There are 3 sentences we have, which is find someone who has been recently abroad, or find someone who has eaten something really strange, or find someone who has done a bungee jump. I will leave you for 5 minutes. It's an easy one. It's individual because to help students get to know each other in a friendly environment that will help them to ease the process and feel comfortable with taking the risk of speaking in a foreign language. What is ESP? It's a learner-centered approach to teaching English as an additional language, which focuses on developing communicative competence in a specific discipline, such as academic, accounting, business, IT teaching, engineering, and so on. It's also designed to meet the specific needs of the learners and relate to the content, themes, and topics to particular disciplines or occupations. ESP students have the basic knowledge of English language, so they're already familiar with the language. The difference between ESP and GE. ESP targets specific needs. Students are learning the language in order to communicate in a professional way and to perform some job-related functions. They also have a background of the language and they know the basics of the general English. However, general English, it's for general purpose courses that are mostly focused on grammar, language structure, and general vocab. To start with the first activity we have today, it's called special purpose, which is to understand the difference between ESP and GE. It's a pair work to be more easier to identify the sentences and correct the errors of each other before saying it out loud. Below are the sentences mentioned, and you need to identify whether these are ESP or GE. The first one is a Japanese marine biologist is preparing to present a research paper in English at an international conference. An intermediate class of young adults of different nationalities are preparing to sit for a Cambridge First Certificate English exam. A group of students from China are getting instructions on how to write academic essays in English in preparation for postgraduate study at a university. The last one is workers and staff attend an on-site beginners level English class at a paint factory in Poland. I'll leave you for 10 minutes and then I'll show you the answers of these. The first one is ESP because he's a Japanese and preparing to present research paper in English for an international conference. It's very specific. The second one is general English because they are taking an English exam. It's very general. The third one is students from China, instructions to write academic essays in English for a postgraduate study. It's a very specific thing as well. And the last one, general English, because workers are taking a beginner's level English class. So it's very general English. If anyone have any question, he could just tell me before moving to the second activity. The second activity we have is the need analysis. ESP courses usually conduct a need analysis, which is an assessment of the specific needs of the learners. They need to know what do you need to get out of the course to be able to deliver the message correctly and effectively. This is usually done by means of questionnaires and interviews. Questions should mainly focus on the what, why, how, and who. So work in groups to be able to imagine and elaborate on what information you would need in order to prepare for an ESP course. Think of questions to ask the learners about their job-specific English needs. What do you need to know from these students to be able to prepare for the course? I will leave you with an example For instance, we could ask them what topics do you need to communicate about in your job or field, or do you communicate with mainly native speakers only or not? I'll leave you for another 10 to 15 minutes to think about questions, and then we can have an open discussions about the questions. Moving to the third activity and the last one for today, which is the text analysis. People who work or study together typically share the same way of using language. They belong to a special discourse community. And discourse community is any group of people who share a common interest, profession, or academic field, and talk or write about it using convention of language, certain terms or slang that only that community understands. And I think that we on Rate AC professors are a discourse community because we use certain terms and slang that only we understand. So in teaching an ESP course, it's important to understand the discourse convention of the target community to be able to reach and target them. So this involves studying the kinds of language and text that the members of the discourse community use to be able to target them and reach them as well. So in a group of 4, 2 of the group members have to think of a discourse community, and the other 2 have to design the course. How to target them, what kind of language and text they use, if there is slang between them, their style is formal or not, and so on. You can draw diagrams or charts, listen to recordings to that certain community, watch videos, or simply just write a report about this, whatever it suits you. This activity needs around 20 minutes. So I will leave you to imagine and elaborate more on that discourse community and how you're going to design an ESP course that targets them and how you're going to communicate with them. And then we can discuss together. The last thing we have for today is the homework, which is a reflection on that statement. Do you agree that teaching ESP is more satisfying than teaching general English because you have a much better idea of your learner's need or not? Thank you and see you next time.